You ever look at your hands and wonder why they're still empty? Why you work, bleed, beg, and still feel like you're grabbing at soul? Funny thing, isn't it? Everyone's chasing the same thing: money, success, recognition, but no one stops to ask why it keeps slipping through their fingers. They think maybe they're cursed. Maybe life's unfair. Maybe God forgot their name. No. No. It's simpler than that. See, the world doesn't hand out blessings like candy at a parade. It tests you, breaks you, watches what you do when no one's clapping, and then maybe, just maybe, it fills your hand. Not with coins, no, with power, with meaning. They all want it: wealth, success, the gold at the end of the crooked little rainbow. And what do? They chase what everyone else is chasing. Same paths, same prayers, same empty promises. It's a beautiful circus. Everyone running in circles, stepping on each other, screaming, "Pick me, choose me." But wealth, real wealth, it doesn't follow that kind of noise. It doesn't care how loud you are. It doesn't care how many inspirational quotes you tape to your mirror. It follows something else entirely: conviction. See, conviction isn't pretty. It's not neat or polite. It's not about how many books you've read or how many strategies you've learned. Conviction is raw. It's ugly. It's the thing that keeps you standing when your knees are buckling. It's not about having a plan. It's about being willing to burn the plan if that's what it takes. Because when you have conviction, you don't need a crowd to agree with you. You don't need anyone to see what you see. You just move, you act, you take. The crowd, they wait for permission. They want validation. They need someone to tell them they're worthy. But wealth doesn't knock on the doors of people who wait. It doesn't show up with flowers and a kind smile. It comes like a storm. Loud. Violent. And only those with conviction are still standing when it hits. That's the trick. That's the game. The ones who move with conviction, they don't wait for the weather to change. They become the storm. You ever notice how people talk about success like it's a formula? Like if you just do step 1, then 2, then 3, the money magically appears. But conviction doesn't follow steps. It doesn't wait in line. It jumps the fence, breaks the rules, rewrites the whole damn script. And while everyone else is sitting in the audience waiting for their cue, the one with conviction is already on stage, grabbing the mic, rewriting the play in real time. Because the truth is, wealth isn't looking for the smartest or the fastest or the most talented. It's looking for the most certain, the ones who keep going when the lights go out, the ones who make decisions that terrify them and still don't flinch. That kind of belief, that kind of madness, it's rare. Because conviction doesn't come from comfort. It's born in chaos, in rejection, in pain. It's forged when no one claps, when no one cares, and you still keep going. You don't get chosen by playing it safe. You don't get filled with wealth by following the echo of other people's dreams. You stand out by not following, by walking into rooms you weren't invited to, by saying yes to things that make your stomach turn. That's where wealth lies, in the places that make people uncomfortable. And conviction is what lets you stay there. Most people quit when the crowd stops cheering. That's when their courage runs dry. But the one with conviction, they get louder. They smile when it hurts. They lean in when everyone else is backing out. That's why wealth follows them. Because wealth knows they won't fumble it. They've bled for it, starved for it, been laughed at, left behind, and still never looked away. That's power. That's terrifying. That's exactly who the world gives its treasure to. Conviction doesn't beg. It doesn't negotiate. It declares, it demands, it dares. It doesn't ask the universe it might turn. It looks the universe in the eye and says, "Watch me." And that's when everything starts moving. Doors open. Connections snap into place. But not because of luck. Not because of timing. Because of pressure. Relentless, unshakable pressure applied by someone who refuses to quit. Someone who doesn't just want it, they decided it. You think wealth cares about feelings, about your insecurities, your doubts? No, it's attracted to fire, and conviction burns hotter than anything else. That's why it scares people, why it makes the crowd uncomfortable. Because conviction exposes the lies we tell ourselves to stay small. It shows what's possible when someone stops asking and starts becoming. And in a world that worships hesitation, conviction is rebellion. It's chaos, it's danger. Because the one who moves with it can't be stopped, can't be reasoned with, can't be broken by failure or fear or silence. They move like they already know how the story ends. And that's exactly why the world gets out of their way. Chosen. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Sounds like a blessing. Like a crown falling from heaven into your lap. But no one tells you what comes before that. No one talks about the process. See, to be chosen, first you have to be broken. Not a gentle crack. No, you get shattered. Smashed into pieces so small you don't even recognize yourself anymore. And that's the real initiation. That's the doorway. Everyone wants the throne, but no one wants the fall that comes first. The funny thing is, everyone's looking for signs, for clarity, for confirmation that they're the one. But the universe or God or fate, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't hand you a golden ticket. It hands you chaos. It hands you fire. It drops you into the dark with no map and no rope. And then it watches to see what you'll do when you've got nothing left but the bones of who you used to be. Because being chosen doesn't feel like you think it would. It doesn't come with applause. It comes with silence, isolation, nights where you stare at the ceiling asking if any of this even matters. Days where every door slams in your face and every voice tells you you're crazy for still trying. That's the test, that's the filter. The world doesn't choose the strongest, it chooses the most unbreakable. And you don't become unbreakable by reading books or saying affirmations. You become unbreakable by breaking and coming back harder. You ever try to build something great while everything around you is falling apart? That's what it means to be chosen. You're handed a vision, a fire in your chest, and then everything else is stripped away just to see if you'll still carry it. Just to see if you'll crawl with it when you can't walk, bleed with it. There's no reward, scream for it when no one is listening. That's the price, that's the weight. And most people, when they get hit like that, they give it up. They say maybe it wasn't meant to be. They fold. They go back to average, back to safety, back to numb. But the chosen ones, they don't quit, they snap, they rage, they cry until there's nothing left. And then they rise. Not because they're fearless, but because the fear doesn't matter anymore. Because the pain taught them something no comfort ever could. That who they are now is forged, not gifted. People talk about destiny like it's soft. Like it's this beautiful story that unfolds naturally. But destiny is violent. It rips away your illusions. It crushes your timelines. It makes you let go of everything you thought you needed just to show you what you're really made of. And if you can't handle that, you're not chosen. Not yet. You're still waiting for the easy road, and that road doesn't go anywhere worth walking. See, the chosen ones, they don't blend in. They don't wait their turn. They don't need someone to say, now you're ready. Because they were already chosen the moment they decided to keep going when everything else screamed stop. That's where it happens. That exact moment of madness, of defiance, of refusing to stay broken. And it's not just one breakdown. No, you break over and over and over again. Every level you rise to demands a deeper cut, a harder fall, a sharper mirror. But each time you rebuild, you get colder, smarter, hungrier. And that's when the world starts paying attention. Not before. Before that, you're invisible. You're just another voice shouting into the void. But after the breaking, after the fire, that's when the air shifts, that's when the winds change. You stop needing validation. You stop asking for direction. You move like a storm, calculated, merciless, focused. Because now you know what it costs to carry the vision. Now you know what it takes to wear the title of chosen. And it's not pretty, it's not glamorous. It's not wrapped in gold and glitter. It's scars. It's loneliness. It's walking through hell and dragging your dream with you, no matter how heavy it gets. You don't earn that kind of power by doing what's popular. You earn it in the shadows where no one's watching, where the work is ugly, where the voices in your head are louder than any applause. And still, you move. Still you trust. Still you fight. That's what separates the chosen from the crowd. Not talent, not charm, but the willingness to be destroyed in the process of becoming. Most people walk around with clenched fists, tight, desperate, holding on to everything they think they need: control, pride, fear, some borrowed version of who they're supposed to be. Hands full of illusions, gripping so hard they don't even realize they're choking themselves. And then they wonder why nothing new is coming in, why blessings don't land, why their hands stay empty in all the ways that actually matter. You want to know why? Because God doesn't fill fists, He fills hands that are open, empty, ready. But that's terrifying, isn't it? To open your hand, to let go, to stand there with nothing but air between your fingers. People don't like that. It feels like weakness, like surrender, like failure. They've been told to hold tight, push harder, build walls, never let them see you empty. But that's the lie. That's the trap. The tighter you hold, the less space you leave for anything real to enter. The clenched fist is a defense and a prison. Letting go isn't easy. It feels like dying. It feels like you're giving up your last bit of control, and maybe you are, but maybe that's the point. Maybe that's where it all begins, when you finally stop pretending you've got it all figured out. When the act falls apart and the mask slides off and you just stand there, raw and real and open. Not because it's noble, not because it's poetic, but because you're too damn tired to fake it anymore. That's when something happens, something shifts. Not out there and here in your chest, in your gut. When you stop fighting to hold on to what's killing you, when you unclench just enough for something else to find, it's way in. Something bigger, something heavier, but lighter too. Something that fits. Because God or fate or whatever force you want to blame or thank, it's waiting for that moment. The moment you stop trying to earn everything and start being ready to receive anything. Most people pray with their mouths full, with their hands full, with their hearts full of noise, and then they wonder why nothing's coming through. You want something to come into your life. Make room. Clear the damn table. Empty the drawer. Let the silence creep in and hum in your bones. It's in that quiet, uncomfortable emptiness that the message lands, the door opens. The gift arrives, not a second before. And when it comes, it's not what you expected. It doesn't look like the stories. It doesn't wear a crown. It doesn't come with guarantees. It's messy, it's heavy. Sometimes it scares the hell out of you, but it's yours. It's the thing you've been bleeding for, crying for. But you couldn't have held it before. Not with those fists. Not with that armor. You had to be stripped down, exposed, bare. That's the price of real power. It only shows up when you're not pretending anymore. You ever watch people try to manifest something while clinging to a version of themselves that's already expired? It's painful. Like watching someone beg for a new life with an old mindset. Doesn't work. Never has. You don't get to skip the part where you let go of who you used to be. That's the toll. That's the cost of the upgrade. And most people don't want to pay it. They'd rather hold tight to their suffering than risk having nothing for a moment. But the ones who make it, the ones who rise, they risk the void. They open their hands. And that's when it happens, not before. When your hands are empty. When your heart is quiet. When you vive, being humbled by the fall, and stop pretending you're invincible. That's when you're trusted. That's when you're filled. Not with scraps, not with illusions. With something real. Something that weighs more than gold and burns hotter than fire. Because now finally you're ready to carry it. Open hands are dangerous. That's what makes them powerful. Because they're vulnerable. They say take what needs to go, give what's meant to stay. And not everyone can do that. Most are too scared, too attached to the pain, too loyal to their past. But not you. Not if you've made it this far. Not if you've survived the shattering. You're not here by accident. You're standing there with those hands wide open, heart pounding, eyes burning, because deep down you know that's how the real ones received out. They all want it in their hands, of wealth, some success, status, power, but they don't understand the weight. They beg for the crown, not realizing it's lined with razors. They pray for the bag, not knowing it'll break them before it blesses them. You think you're just going to be handed something heavy and sacred just because you asked nicely? Because you made a vision board. No, that's not how this game works. And don't get handed wealth, you get turned into someone who can hold it. And that transformation, oh, it's not pretty. It doesn't come with music and slow motion montages. It comes with losing things, people, dreams, pieces of yourself you thought you needed. It comes with getting dragged through the dirt while life whispers, are you sure you want this? Again and again. Because wealth, real wealth, not the kind you flash for claps, it's a burden. It's fire in your palm. It will light you up if you're not built to carry it. And most people aren't. See, everybody loves the idea of being wealthy until they realize what it demands. You think you keep your habits, your laziness, your fears, and just stack riches on top. That's not wealth. That's decoration. And the truth is, it won't last, because it's not about what you're given. It's about who you become. You get transformed into the version of you that can walk into a room, command the floor, take losses with a smile, and still not blink. You don't get wealth. You grow into someone who earns the right to hold it. There's a version of you right now that thinks you're ready. That version, it's soft. It still flinches when people don't clap. Still hesitates when the pressure gets hot. Still needs someone to believe in it before it moves. That version can't hold the weight. Not yet. It'll drop it. Sabotage it. Cry under it. So what happens? Life starts training you. Brutally. Quietly, with cold lessons that don't come with instructions. Every setback. A rep. Every betrayal. A scar added to your armor. Every delay. A test not to punish you. To sharpen you. To chip away the weak pieces. Until you stop trying to survive the fire and start becoming the fire. That's when you start changing. That's when the things that used to shake you now amuse you. Because you're not just building a life anymore, you're becoming the person that kind of life needs at the top. And the ones that make it. They're not the lucky ones. They're the dangerous ones. The ones who outlasted the pressure, stared failure in the face and didn't blink. The ones who didn't crumble when the crowd disappeared. Who kept building in silence. Who didn't just want the outcome, they wanted the responsibility. Because they knew the weight was coming. And they wanted to be ready. Everyone's asking for more, but they're not willing to become more. That's the gap. That's why they stay stuck. Because life's not going to give you something that will crush you. It waits. It watches. It waits until your nervous system can hold chaos without shaking. Until you can take the shot and still reload. Until you stop begging for ease and start demanding growth. That's the shift. That's the doorway. You don't get handed wealth, you get molded into the vessel that can carry it without spilling. That molding process is violent. It's lonely. You lose people. You lose parts of your identity. You lose the urge to prove yourself. You start walking different, talking different. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you know you've seen behind the curtain. You've bled for the blueprint. And now you're dangerous. And still, people will look at you and say you're lucky. That you got a break. They won't see the war that turned you into this. They won't see the nights you shook. The mornings you nearly quit, the times you stared at the ceiling wondering if it was all a joke. But you'll know. You'll feel it in your bones. The weight you carry, the silence you've endured, the power you've become. It wasn't given. It was forged. Most people want what's on the other side of the mountain, but only a few are willing to become the kind of monster that claims it with a smile. Only a few are willing to die to their old selves again and again just to be trusted with something bigger. So no, you don't just get handed wealth. You get turned into a weapon. A mirror. A storm. Something that can hold it, protect it, and wield it without breaking. They tell you to wait. To be patient. That your time will come. That if you're good, if you play by the rules, if you keep smiling through the pain, eventually life will knock on your door and say, it's your turn. But that's the biggest joke of all. Life doesn't give you your moment, you take it. You rip it out of the silence with bloody hands and a wild look in your eye that says, I'm not waiting anymore. Because waiting is the game they feed you to keep you small. They want you tame, predictable. The kind of dreamer who stays quiet, keeps their head down, and dies with potential still trapped inside. That's what most people become. Quiet ghosts with loud regrets. And they'll tell you that's just how it is. But if you listen real close beneath the noise, beneath the fake smiles and recycled advice, you'll hear something else. A whisper. A scream, maybe. Coming from somewhere deep in your gut. And it doesn't say wait. It says go. That voice, that's the spark. That's the real you, the version no one has met yet because you've been too busy trying to be acceptable. But here's the truth, wealth doesn't come to the well-behaved. It doesn't land in the laps of the polite. It bows to the unhinged, the relentless, the ones who stop asking for permission and start becoming the permission. That's when things shift. When you stop performing and start claiming. There's a reason most people don't get there. Because claiming something costs more than wishing for it. It's messy, violent even. You don't just walk into your future with a smile, you fight your way through the rubble of who you used to be. You burn bridges. You break patterns. You disappoint the people who liked you better when you were broken. And for what? For a chance. A shot. A moment where you stand on the edge of everything and scream, this is mine now. People will say you've changed, that you're too intense, that you've lost your mind. Let them talk. Let them project. You're not here to make them comfortable. You're not here to shrink so they can breathe easier. You're here to take up space, to own every inch of the ground you walk on. Because wealth isn't just about money. It's about presence, power, command. It's walking into a room and bending the air just by existing. And that doesn't come from luck, it comes from the fire. The kind that strips you of everything fake until there's nothing left but the raw, electric truth. That version of you doesn't care what they think. Doesn't flinch when they laugh. Doesn't blink when doors close. Because that version, it's already kicked down its own doors. It's already walked through hell and shook hands with the devil. And now it's done waiting. Most people think you need a plan, a step-by-step manual to get rich, get seen, get free. But what you really